So ladies and gentlemen, if you're now ready to learn the first stage and master the first stage of becoming an amazing video editor, then the first thing we need to dive into is mastering raw footage. And the first step in doing this is understanding cuts, different types of cuts, how to use them, and pacing. And today's video, we're going to be breaking down how you guys can have different kinds of cuts, how we use them, why we use them, and how we can manipulate pacing. So with this being said, you're about to learn a lot of things about cuts in this recording, and you guys are going to learn a lot of things about pacing, which are very fundamental things which a lot of people don't actually see, but they are these small little details which make you an amazing video editor. Let's dive right in. So what I've got over here is I've got Premiere Pro open, and I just have a sequence. And the first step of understanding different kinds of cuts is understanding the basic cut, which we just call a regular cut. Some people call it a match cut, whatever you want to call it. This is a regular cut. Let's go ahead and drag in our footage, keep the existing settings, and this is the same raw footage which we used before. We're going to be reusing this just so that we could show you guys how far you can take this edit inside of Premiere Pro. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is removing the silences. And as we always know, we click on C to open up our razor and we start removing silences. So I'm going to cut over here and select my selector tool and delete this. And the first thing you guys notice about making high quality cuts, which is actually an art in and of itself, is I cut in a very precise position. Now let me explain to you guys exactly what's happening in my mind. First, we're going to do the basic cut. Then I'm going to duplicate it and show you guys a few different kinds of cuts. So if I wanted to cut this in a basic cut, right, according to the pacing, which we'll talk about later on at the end, when I do my cuts, you guys will notice I don't go too far into the audio. So as you guys can see over here, it's silence, and over here it's audio. I don't go too far into the audio and cut here, and I also don't go too far and leave empty space before. I cut right at the point which I start speaking. And the point at which you start speaking is the point at which the volume begins to rise. So it's not the point where it's got this big incline here, it's actually this point over here. Syllables inside of wave, when you see them as waves like this, are kind of these spikes. And so when you're speaking and you have a spike, it's a moment of silence breaking into volume. Okay, so what's happening over here is this first spike here, sample vid, is me starting to speak. It's that sound. It's the sound where I'm starting to say a sample video. Okay, and that's why when I'm making the cuts, I make sure not to cut late and not to cut close to me speaking, and I leave no empty space before my cut. Before my cut, I always go really close, very close to my syllable. So mastering the art of cutting is a lot about where you place your cut. There's a lot of psychology that goes into it. Now, if we go back to the beginning here, what about the end of my cut? As you guys can see, when I finish my sentences, my audio dies off, right? So it slowly goes down. And for that reason, when it comes to the end of my cut, I don't cut really close because I don't want to cut my audio off. I'll be showing you guys bad examples of it in just a bit. Instead, I track my audio to the point at which it becomes 0 or almost 0. And you guys can see this is where my regular noise level is, and my audio follows along. And this is the last syllable over here. If you guys can see it, you guys pay attention to my razor. There's a small little jump right there where my razor is, and that little jump is the last part. So I'm going to cut right after it, and that is as perfect as a cut gets. Now I just delete the middle, and when I put them together, you guys watch this and just look at how clean this cut is. This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. That is as clean as a cut gets. Okay, now I'm going to do the cuts for the rest of them, and then we're going to talk a little bit about pacing, and then we're going to dive into different kinds of cuts. So let me show you guys what a bad example of a cut looks like. So here's the end of my first clip. If the end of my first clip is here and I cut over here and I cut too early, here's scenario 1, I cut way too early. And then the second clip is over here and I cut way too late, right? And I cut into me speaking. This is what it's going to sound like. A few pauses. Sometimes I might even say, right? I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even, it sounds rough. It sounds like it's too quick. Take a few pauses. Sometimes I might, and this is just a light example, but if I cut a bit quicker like so, check this out all of a sudden. I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say, right, it cuts off. It ruins the audio. And these are small little things that a lot of your audience members are going to pay attention to. So if I undo all of this, and I'll show you guys the exact opposite. If I leave way too much space over here and way too much space over here, and all of a sudden I cut the middle like so, then all of a sudden, a few pauses. Sometimes I might even, it sounds weird. It's slow and it's weird. And what you guys are witnessing right now is a manipulation of pacing. When we leave more space, more empty space after cuts or before cuts, the video sounds slower, and I'll be showing you guys this in just a second. Whereas when we leave less space in between cuts, all of a sudden the video sounds faster. Now for the sake of our first cut, I'm going to leave less space to show you guys what a fast video looks like. So I'm going to trim this down over to this point and this over to this point and bring this thing forward. Now let's go again. So at the end of this, I'm going to click on C and then let's cut right after our audio finishes and right before our audio starts, and then select the middle and delete it, and we are good to go. And then just trim off this last part, and this is some silence here, I think. Absolutely. Oh no, this is pretty good and awesome. Let's go ahead and play through this. This is a faster paced cut. This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless. And there we go. This is a very beautifully cut piece of fast-paced video. Now, what if I wanted to do the same thing but slower? So I'm going to select all of these like so, hold down Alt and just click on one of them and move over to the right side. Now, before you let go of Alt, let go of your button, and then you can let go of Alt, and this way you're going to duplicate it like so. Now, after I've duplicated it, I'm going to quickly redo all of these cuts. Now, you guys will notice, I want to show you guys how I make these cuts slower. So let's say, for example, I wanted to make this cut slower. I'm going to select all of these and move them back, or this is where we can use our track select tool. So what the track select tool does, which is this one here, is if you click here, it's going to select everything after this clip. Or if you click here, it's going to select everything after this one. So I can use this to select these and move it forward. Okay, so let's go back to our regular selection tool. If I add some space in between this cut and I add some space in between this cut as well, I'm just going to add maybe this much and then just kind of put them together and check this out for yourself. This is a sample video. Sample video is okay. Let's go ahead and do this for the rest of the video so you guys can watch what difference it makes. So just add some space in between all of these, add some space in between this one, like so, and we should be good to go. Now I'm going to show this to you guys. This is a sample video. A sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless. So notice how slower the video feels. It feels so much slower compared to this. Let me show this to you guys side to side. I'll show you the first two clips in fast and last two clips in slow. This is a sample video. A sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things. This is a sample video. A sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times, notice how it just feels slower. It's almost like someone slowed down the speed of the video, but nothing happened. All we did was leave more space. And the reason this works is because emptiness or silence inside of editing is associated with the video, with the viewer having a rest. And so when you give the viewer some silence, you allow them to kind of relax and you allow them to take their time. You allow them to take more time to think about what is just happening. And when you cut really quickly like this, then all of a sudden the video has to keep up with the pace and the viewer has to constantly just battle to listen and understand what the next thing is happening. So you don't give them enough time to think. So which one is correct to use? Well, this kind of depends on your scenario. If you are editing something that requires of the viewer more time to think, then you obviously need to use a slower pace. But if you're editing something that needs to be quick, needs to be entertaining, and needs to be very engaging, then you're obviously going to be using quicker cuts. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the art of cutting. And once you understand this, all of a sudden what I'm about to explain to you guys is going to be super simple. Once you understand that pacing is relying on how much distance of silence you leave in between your cuts, then you're about to understand J-cuts super easily. So check this out. First of all, what even are J-cuts? J-cuts are a type of cut that allows the viewer to enjoy a bit of both. It's a cut that is very engaging, but at the same time, it allows the viewer to hear the next clip before watching it, which allows the viewer's mind to subconsciously anticipate the next clip, which actually makes the video flow a lot easier. So I'm going to select this and duplicate it one more time by holding down Alt like so. And I'm going to show you guys how I do J-cuts. So let's say I've got my cut over here. I'm going to use my my slower paced cuts just to show you guys a quick example. Let's say I've got my cuts over here. The first step of creating a J-cut is I need my audio to start before my video. So for that reason, I'll take clip 1 and this is clip 2, for example. I'll put clip 2 on the video 2 layer and clip 2 on the audio 2 layer, and I'm going to overlap them like so. And this is the art of the J-cut. The reason this works is because as the first clip is toning down, as the first clip is finishing, the second clip is already starting to play, which allows that viewer to anticipate the second clip before even seeing it. And if we watch through this, this is a sample video. A sample video is notice how it's flowy, right? It's not like a rough cut. It doesn't like cut and transition to the next segment. It flows into the second cut. And this is why it is so much better than a match cut. The reason J-cuts are so good is, and the reason they work is because as this audio is going away, as the viewer is kind of leaving that first clip, the second audio is coming in. So it's not like the viewer has to leave the first clip, silence, and then move into the second video. it's the viewer moving from the first clip into the second clip in one smooth motion, and that's exactly what the J-cuts do. However, there's one last step to the J-cuts, which is starting the video behind the audio. So the best way to do this, I'll show you guys how to do it. You select this, you right click, and you unlink them. Okay, this will basically allow you to select this differently from this. Now be sure not to move this around, because now you're going to make your video out of sync. So if I move this to the back, sample video is where I notice how it's completely out of sync. Okay, so I'm going to quickly undo that. So when you unlink things, be sure not to move them. All that there is to J-cuts is just moving the video back now and having the video start here. So notice what's happening. So clip 1 is still going, and over here clip 1 is still going, clip 1 is still going, clip 1 is still going, all the way up until this point where you've already heard the start of clip 2, but you haven't even cut into clip 2. And notice what kind of cool effect this gives you. This is a sample video. A sample video is where I speak. There we go. Now there are a few mistakes that people make when making J-cuts, and it is that sometimes they select the J-cut and they make the cut too rough. So they have the video start very late and they actually bring it super close. Now what's happening here is as the first audio is trimming down, as the first video is going away, the second audio starts way too fast. And I'm going to show you guys an extreme example of this. And this basically makes the video super hyper engaging. Check this out. This is a sample video. Sample video is where I notice how quickly we get into the second clip. That is way too fast. Another mistake that I've seen people do is they start way too slow. So they start all the way back here, and then they have the audio start like barely right before we start getting into the clip, and the viewer doesn't have enough time to hear what's happening in the audio. Sample video. Sample video. See, it's just like a regular cut. So the trick to J-cuts is moving the video back, and this is exactly how I've done it. It's studying where your audio starts and finding the first peak and moving your video back to the first peak and then just aligning it like so. And I'll show you guys this a few times. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to build the viewer into the second clip, but cut right at the right moment. Sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Let's go ahead and do it for this section. As you guys know, the first step is bring the clip closer, but first we have to unlink it. So let's right click and unlink. Let's select both of these, and as you guys can see, where's my first peak? My first peak is right here. So I'm going to go over to my first peak. Step 1, bring your playhead to your first peak. Step 2, for clip 2, move your video all the way back to your first peak. Step 3, select both of them and bring them closer and overlap them with your first cut. Sometimes I might even say important. Now there's way too much space over here. There's way too much emptiness. So notice what the fourth thing you have to do is. The fourth thing you have to do is trim out the excess space, right? Like so. So that your peak starts as this thing is going down. So I wish I had a pen to draw this out for you guys, but as your peak over here is going down, as your first audio is fading out, your second audio is fading in. You don't want to have the first audio fade out and then there has a pause and then it fades in. So that's exactly what's happening here. So it fades out, and then from this point to this point is pure silence, because both these clips haven't come in. So this clip has already faded out and this clip didn't come in yet. So that's exactly why we take our first clip and we bring it back, so that as our first audio is fading out, the second audio is coming in. So fading out, coming in, like so. And I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say, there we go. Let's do the same thing here. So we're going to move this thing back maybe to around here. We can do this by selecting both and then moving them back to around here, and we are good to go. And now we're going to select both of these and move this back like so. That's good. Let's bring it closer. Let's right click and unlink this. Once again, step 1, bring your playhead to the peak somewhere around here. Bring the video back, then just move this thing down, right? So move your audio down the layer so you can overlap them, and select both of them and bring them closer like so. Now notice this audio also fades out too early. So we're going to select this and we're just going to bring it closer like this and just bring this thing closer like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless. There we go. And now if we watch through this, I want to compare this to you guys with the quick cut. So this is the quick cuts. This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless. Awesome. And this is our second J-cut. This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely. Notice how all the audio comes in before the clip finishes, and it's so much more high quality. Now, with this being said, you now understand by the end of this course, if you guys are following along, of course, you guys now understand what makes good cuts, how not to make, bad cuts. You understand what makes good cuts. You now understand how to pace things properly according to, how fast you want the video to be. If you want it to be slow, leaving space in between cuts. If you want it to be quick, not leaving space in between cuts. And you also understand how to make J-cuts. The last step I want to go through is what are the biggest mistakes that people make when making J-cuts. And after running Ultimate Editors for a whole year, I have seen a lot of people make mistakes with J-cuts, and I'm about to break them down for you. When making J-cuts, one of the biggest problems that people face is that as they are moving the clip, sometimes instead of trimming it, they accidentally move it. And by moving it, I'll show you exactly what happens. So they move it like this. And what ends up happening video is where I speak is it's out of sync. And you guys probably don't notice it right now, but over the course of the entire edit, something like this, for example, if we were to, let's say, redo these J-cuts, okay? And I was doing it as these people make these mistakes, which is totally natural, right? I had my clip like this and I unlinked this, and all of a sudden I wanted to bring this thing, and these people, they take the audio and they bring it closer like this. Now all of a sudden I have a problem because my audio starts here. The sample video is where and then I speak and I take a few pauses. My video is completely out of sync. And now if I bring this audio back, like let's go ahead and unlink this. I bring this video back like this. Sometimes I might even say important things. It's completely out of sync. And then this one as well, if I do the same thing here and I extend it. Other times I'm probably gonna say something. Look at that, it's completely out of sync. For that reason, they come send me messages. Hey Joseph, I'm running into a lot of issues and I'm completely out of sync with my cuts. It's totally natural. There's nothing wrong with making a lot of mistakes. When it comes to editing, I've made a lot of mistakes before. However, one of the best ways you can avoid it is through the trick I'm about to show you. And if you guys have watched this far, that means you guys deserve to see this trick. So the trick is, instead of right-clicking and unlinking, all you have to do is you hold down Alt on your keyboard. And what this allows you to do is, okay, I'm going to quickly show you this with a linked key, frame. So with a linked clip over here, when I move it, it's all stuck and I can't move one side alone. I can't move the audio or video alone. As soon as I hold down Alt, I can now move the audio alone. Now here's the trick. As soon as I let go of Alt, it's back to being selected as one piece, which allows you to get the best of both worlds. And instead of having to unlink and mess up your sync, you can just hold down Alt, move this around according to where you want it, obviously, and then you just have a regular clip once again. So with this being said, when we get to the end of this course, now that we are here, how do you guys do J-cuts? I want to quickly do these J-cuts with you guys completely from scratch. So I'm going to delete all of these, bring my video in, make sure you delete all of these layers too. Let's just go ahead and make it a bit louder because it's pretty low. And let's get started on our J-cuts. So click on C and let's start by doing regular cuts. First step is do the regular cuts. So we're going to cut before, remove the silence. We're going to cut in between these. So cut before and cut after and remove the silence once again. And then we're going to cut before this and after this and cut and remove the silence once again. And then we're going to do the same thing over here as well. And there we go. Now that we have our regular cuts made, step one is regular cuts. Let's move into J-cuts. So I'm using my selector tool only now. So I'm watching through this. This is a sample video. And this is my first cut here. So all I have to do is move my audio down. That's step one. Step two, find my wavelength. Step three, hold down Alt and then move this bad boy back. And step four, bring it closer. Is it close enough where it's coming in as this thing's fading out? I believe so. Sample video. There we go. Awesome. Let's go ahead and do this one more time. So we get to this clip here. Same thing. Go over to here. Now this, we don't have to bring it down because it's already not on the same layer as this. So we'll go to the first wavelength, hold down Alt, move our video back, and then just bring it closer like so. Sometimes I might even say awesome. And then one more time over here. This is our peak. And now we're actually going to have to bring our audio down, hold down Alt, move it back, and bring it close like so. I hope you guys are following along. Other times, I'm probably going to say something. Absolutely. And with this being said, let's watch what our J-cuts do. This is a sample video. Sample video is where I speak and I take a few pauses. Sometimes I might even say important things like this. Other times I'm probably going to say something absolutely useless. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the art for cutting. And you guys now understand how to make good cuts, the common mistakes that people make when making cuts, how to control your pacing with cuts, and how to also create J-cuts. And now that you guys understand all of this, it's finally time to move on to our next step of making raw footage more high quality. And the second step of making raw footage very high quality is going to be adding zoom-ins, which we are going to be discussing in the next course. And I have some exciting news. We're also going to be diving into the velocity of keyframes, which is something that's completely brand new for you guys. So with this being said, let's dive into the next course, learn how to add zoom-ins and create very high quality velocities inside of Premiere Pro. See you guys there.